light in here.
Let's get this moving forward. And all right, let's see. I'm going to try something. I know it's a little crazy, but I am a little crazy in this whole process, right? And why not? Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. By the way, I'm working on a double side here. That if you come over to Facebook, YouTube for Dr. Kiltz, you'll get all the awesome, amazing Austin Cavelli. Austin, welcome and thank you for joining me today. And we're going to talk about health and wellness and carnivore meats. And again, thank you so much. How you been?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. It's always good connecting with you again and again and getting in this this community and just spreading the word about carnivore. So I really appreciate you having me on today.
Well, it's my pleasure. So how did you get into this carnivore space, and tell us a little bit about you so your fans can know more about you? And
So similar to you, I was having some digestive issues and struggling. I was always told, you have more and more fiber, make sure you get in your vegetables and whatnot. Had endoscopies, colonoscopies, kind of went the no sugar, no grains route, and that helped. Did kind of the paleo thing, and then went more into the keto world, and then eventually made my way to carnivore, just realizing how much better and better that I felt without plants. And I really wanted to help other people as well, because having worked as a PA in the hospital, I saw where there were, shortcomings as far as focusing on the diet at all. Nobody really even asked about it. And I worked in particularly orthopedics, where inflammation was, that's the main thing that we're treating. So to not ask about the diet and to be concerned about inflammation, it just didn't make sense. So not only seeing what I was able to kind of overcome with digestive issues in myself and overall levels of inflammation, but also wanting to help people with whether it was chronic illnesses or just preventative, taking preventative measures. And so that's kind of how I've gotten into this space and trying to spread the word and help out as many people as we can, getting away from the standard American diet and the plant killers.
And what was your diet before, and when did you start this? Was this like a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago?
Yeah, no. So I was
about your background too.
Yeah, so I probably started paleo, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. It was keto for like 6 or 7 years. And now I've been carnivore for almost 4 years. Yep. It'll be 4 years in the fall.
And what type of health issues were you suffering from? And
so chronic constipation was honestly the biggest one. And that is what any gastroenterologist that you go to is going to push fiber. And it just was not helping. It was making me so much worse. All the cruciferous vegetables, they were, I just, anytime I had them, it was extremely painful. And a lot of bloating, just irregularity. So those were kind of the main things. And then also had some anxiety in my family that everybody kind of deals with. And so not something I particularly went to the diet for, but I recognized significantly helped as far as mood stability. I had a history as growing up with obsessive compulsive disorder, kind of cleaning and those types of things. And I grew out of it for the most part, but in terms of just overall levels of anxiety, carnivore, it helped me by far the most in comparison to paleo or keto, taking it one step further. So.
And you're a clinician, a practitioner. Tell us about what you were doing and maybe the acceptance of going on to this other sort of adventure and how'd that work?
Absolutely. So I am a trained physician assistant. I've been a PA now. I graduated back in 2014. So it's been a while, and I worked particularly in orthopedics, treating all types of autoimmune conditions, whether it was osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis. So really inflammation was the main thing is in terms of treatment. But I went to Cornell in Manhattan, and I actually was trained as a surgical physician assistant. So I worked in the operating room. And we also saw patients, though, and did non-operative treatments. And regardless of non-operative or operative, again, diet, lifestyle was never asked about. And it really, I don't know, it didn't seem like it was aligning as I wanted it to. So I kind of got out of the hospital setting and have taken more kind of that functional medicine approach or holistic approach. And I really think that the diet stems, all of these chronic diseases that we're seeing in terms of inflammation. And so I focus my efforts more on that. But I have no regrets becoming a PA. My training, it has significantly helped me in helping people with their diet. But I do focus more on, dietary consulting now and utilizing that background as well to kind of do a holistic approach toward my clients.
So in a dietary consultant, obviously there's lots of diets out there.
Yes.
How do you approach those people that aren't onto the meat or carnivore side and to start them where they're at and work with them where they're at? Can you tell us a little bit about how you deal with that?
Yeah, so I think my family has trained me in doing that well, because I have I've worked with everyone in my family pretty much. My dad has Hashimoto's, my sister has Hashimoto's, and my mom, she, in working with my dad, they kind of did it together. But I think the focus really, if someone is not animal based or just cannot see themselves going strict carnivore or even keto, that even may seem restrictive. Paleo may seem restrictive for some. I think meeting them where they're at and finding kind of a long-term solution is really priority. So I always gravitate more toward animal-based and doing a low-carb, higher-fat approach in order to bring down inflammation, because many times in working with clients, they are coming to me with medical issues. And so I think in working with my family, they've kind of taught me, like, my dad, it was, no, there's no way I could go without bread or without pasta, growing up in an Italian household. And so I've learned that you really do have to introduce, for some people, transitional foods, even if it's just for a couple weeks, but for them to feel, we have the abstainers and the moderators. And for some people, if they're not able to get that fix of Italian food or that fix of whatever it is, their food that they, I can't live without, they have a hard time making it a long-term approach. So by doing it a little bit more gradually in those clients, I've found that they are able to sustain it long-term. But I do, in everybody, I really do prioritize the protein, making sure that lean mass is prioritized, and then sticking with lower carb and higher fat. And when I say high fat, for many people, I mean, it's just higher fat. It's not necessarily this, oh my God, this is way too much fat. But we've grown up in a culture where it's always low fat. So that's kind of my approach for people who aren't necessarily ready to go carnivore.
So you've moved out of the orthopedics completely. You're now just doing consulting. Tell us how do people find you, and tell us a little bit more about that mechanism.
Yeah, so mostly, I mean, I'm on social media. I have a website where you can also book an appointment. But word of mouth is really even just done wonders. I work with people, again, to whether it's they're trying to reverse a chronic condition, many diabetics. A lot of people have concerns for cardiovascular risks, coming to me with concerns for their cholesterol levels. So as a provider, I am able to look at labs and interpret them, is particularly in the setting of a keto and carnivore diet. I've done it. I've worked with keto providers as well, and have been trained by them to specifically interpret the reference ranges of a ketogenic approach as far as labs or carnivore. And so that's been very helpful, because oftentimes, even if you tell your physician that, oh, I'm on, a ketogenic diet, they are still looking at the standard American diet reference ranges, and they're still terrified putting you on a statin and signing you up for the next scan for your arteries. So I think it is important to have someone who is well versed in a low carb, high fat diet in order to be able to really interpret labs and to guide you. And so clients can book an appointment on my website. We talk just on a free call initially to make sure it's a good fit, to make sure I can help them, whether, again, it is, I have a range, whether it's preventative, whether it's, they've been diagnosed with something and they want to improve their health, or they have weight loss goals. That's another very common one with women. Fertility goals as well. I've gotten a couple of clients through you and working with them to improve their chances of fertility. So a whole spectrum of clients, but it's really, really rewarding, I must say.
It's really a pleasure to have you on today. I know we've worked together before, and referring patients, clients to someone that is versed in this realm is so important and knows the numbers. I'm grateful. We're on YouTube, Facebook. I am streaming Instagram in the background for those that.
Okay, great.
And Mike and Niuka and Carmen, and if you guys have any questions, we're here to answer those questions related to keto and carnivore. So what's the biggest hang up, the thing that's kind of preventing people from going from keto, paleo to carnivore, and what type of mechanisms and things do you do to help them move over to that next level?
Honestly, I think a lot of it is really the education. So just even convincing them, which I don't push it on anyone. I think it's something that will come for each person individually when they're ready. But a lot of the pushback or resistance is around the fact that we've been told that we have to have fruits and vegetables in our diet. So it's just that I can't, the rehearsal, exactly. It's just that it is a belief that they've had because it's been rehearsed so many times over and over throughout their life. And breaking that and kind of informing them, educating them, like I said, on the fact that, eating a lot of red meat is not going to cause colon cancer, and, they're not going to have a heart attack, showing them the studies that prove that, HDL should go up, triglycerides will go down. This is protective of the heart. Things like that. Providing that education is really where I play a major role. And with that education, there is, less and less resistance.
And do you focus on cooking or meal plans? And because that's going to be a really big problem for so many people. Everyone's busy. And no one wants to come home and cook. They want to stop and go out, or they want someone to make it or deliver it. How do you people get to that?
Yeah, I think it totally depends on where the person is coming from. I have some clients even in New York, and it's just like, well, what can I get delivered, or what, so it's it just depends on their day-to-day as far as their job and what works best for them. But many of them, without even having there are definitely a bunch of delivery services and options for convenience. But really, carnivore is probably the most convenient diet in the sense of, putting burger in a pan or a steak in a pan. It is very, very quick. So convincing them that is, meal prep really isn't as necessary. And if you wanted to, you could do it, with a crock pot and having a large amount of meat where it is stored in the fridge and just ready to go. But many people will just do, a quick pan sear for a steak, and they're impressed with how simple meals are, or they become. So less convincing for the carnivore folks. For keto, it is a little bit more of a balance for those who aren't ready to go to carnivore. But even that, you're cutting down on many in terms of the variety of plants that you are incorporating. So even if you were getting them, from the frozen section, it makes it very easy. So I think meal prep and planning, while I'm more than happy to provide options, and also just a lot of times it's just like, well, I'm eating the same types of foods. It's just changing the vehicle and in how it's presented. So when you provide those options, whether it's the omelet versus the lettuce wrap of with meat, it's just that they see that those same exact foods can be presented in different ways and you're still remaining on track long term.
Do you incorporate fish and pork and chicken, and where's your thoughts on fish and fish in general in the
Yeah,
keto?
for me personally, or for clients?
Yeah, for you personally, and what are your thoughts on it as in a general conversation? Yes.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't have problems with seafood. Do I think you should eat seafood out of a can every day? No, I wouldn't advocate for that, just because of BPA and those cans and oxidation of the oils. Even though they are good oils, we're considering that these are high in omega-3s. In a can, how it is preserved is, I think, the important thing in terms of quality. So I always advocate for fresh. If you are going to get, wild caught, I personally will do salmon once in a while, shrimp once in a while. Oysters, I think, are great sources of zinc. So yeah, I don't have a problem with seafood whatsoever. And that provides some variety for someone. By all means, incorporate that. That is, it's animal based. It is 100% carnivore. So it's just a matter of client preference.
Let's see. Crystal asked a question: when starting off with regular keto, then carnivore, be the best approach, or just go straight to carnivore?
Yeah, that's oftentimes, I say more often than not, the transition is keto to carnivore. You will, more likely have that kind of keto flu and that a little bit of a harder adaptation period when you're going from standard American diet to carnivore. But then again, it's kind of like ripping off the Band-Aid. So if you're equipped mentally to handle the cravings for the sugar and that as your body transitions, either one is completely an option. So personal preference.
Let's see. Eamon, let's see. Great to see more and more healthcare providers moving away from the eat fiber to feeding noise. So what's your thoughts? Where did you come up with the notion that fiber is not good for you?
Honestly, just how it made me feel. Oh my goodness, it was overbearing. I mean, even small amounts for me. Like I said, cruciferous vegetables were probably the most pronounced, but just this constant feeling of bloating and kind of like daggers in my stomach, very sharp pains, gas pains. Yeah, it goes against everything we've been told. You're going to, top gastroenterologists, and these are the things that they're providing. Even I'm looking back at, the Metamucil and the processed fibers. Oh my God, I was looking at ingredients and I was like, I couldn't wrap my head around it. So I really am very passionate about kind of breaking these beliefs as a provider. And I feel very lucky, and even working with you, like as a PA, it's difficult for physicians to sit and spend the time with their patients to talk about these things. So that's kind of why I've gone more the dietary consultant route with my PA background, because I am able to sit and spend the time with patients when there are physicians like you who, they're advocating for this, to sit and spend the time and provide that guidance. I feel like that's my role.
So there's on Instagram. What do you think about? Let's see, Caroline.
I can't see the Instagram, so I'll
Well,
have you read
I,
them.
I
Okay,
can't.
good.
Well, I can't. What do you think about raw dairy?
Raw dairy. So if you are going to do dairy, absolutely, I would say raw. Finding the source. I personally know some. I think there's there's eatwild.com that you can go on to find sources for whether it is meat or for dairy. But yeah, raw dairy, absolutely. If you are going to do dairy, raw is your best option. Again, I see pasteurization as processing. Is it as bad as, processing of, Little Debbie's or something on a shelf? No, but it's stripping away those nutrients with this high heat. And then they're adding cultures and they're adding things when you want what was, in it from its original form. So raw dairy, absolutely.
And local. And nowadays the
Yes.
sanitary techniques are much better than ever before. And
Yeah.
refrigeration sort of
Yep.
reduces all the risks that used to be the diseases from unpasteurized raw
Right.
products.
Again, that's this belief that, and it was more, regulation as far as putting it on shelves. But yeah, raw dairy, I have no problem with. Again, getting locally sourced, I think, is really important as well. How far is your food traveling to get to you? If you think about it, is it really being preserved in the best way during that transit time, or is it losing nutrients on the way? So if you can get it local, raw, absolutely.
And the very important part is you need to use your local sources from the local farms because if you're not using them, they go out of business, and then now you're reliant on the big boxes and
Right.
these mass facilities, which when they go down, you don't have anything. So
Right.
not only is it better for you, but it helps the local economy. So I think that's so important. And listen, no
Absolutely.
matter where you are, even in the big city, farmers markets
Yep.
show up, and there's lots of great things.
Yeah.
Let's see, steak and salmon asked about how do you feel about the gut microbiome? How do you feed the gut microbiome? I have my opinion on that.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on the gut?
Yes. No, I know you are. And I've seen the books that you actually presented recently with the glycocalyx. Yes, absolutely. So the gut microbiome, and just in general sense, I think I always give this analogy, and I forget where I got it from, but you have to clean the tank first. So there's a lot about the gut microbiome that I think is, we don't know everything. There's so much research still to be done as far as the microbiome, but I think in the sense of healing and in how you approach it in your diet, you really need to clean the gut first. You clean the fish tank, and then you reintroduce the fish, or you're getting a new fish. So as far as when people are saying, oh well, probiotics this, probiotics that, and all these added supplements, I think first and foremost is healing the gut, healing the lining of the gut, and that is with an elimination approach. So first and foremost is healing it, and then later looking to repopulate.
And what's actually very interesting, remember the microbiome is studied in the face of a high plant-based diet.
Right.
Plants provide the source of energy for the microbes, which ferment and make alcohol, heat, gas, and methane.
Yeah.
So in truth, all the studies and this science on probiotics to me are mostly selling a drug, just like the cholesterol story.
Yes,
so it's
I agree.
no different. And so again, we're always trying to sort of make sense of something based on what they say,
Mhm.
even when it comes to insulin resistance and, trying to explain that. But ultimately, the glycobiome protects the body from those bacteria and yeast. You do not
Yeah.
want those bacteria and yeast in your body. I say they're
No,
deadly.
and any that's I forget what talk it was that you had recently, but you commented that many people look to well, I got rid of grains or sugar, and so the sugar's gone. But no, there's sugar in all of these plant sources as well, which is feeding these organisms in terms of if you are struggling with something. So like I said, elimination, complete, zero and getting down to as little glucose as possible with a carnivore approach is really the best healing approach. And if you're not going to do it long term, at least temporarily, in order to kind of reset the gut.
Well, there was I was looking at this great paper on the best practices research in clinical gastroenterology,
Okay.
the glycobiome, bacteria and mucus at the epithelial interface, which again, it's still supporting the idea of the microbiome,
Right.
but no one understands the science of the glycobiome, which is
Yeah.
made of sugar. And so if you're eating a high sugar diet, you destroy the glycobiome. Now the microbes get into your body because they want to kill you. So, again, as eating a cooked meat diet, how many microbes actually get in there versus
Right.
a raw plant-based diet where you're absolutely feeding your bacteria and yeast and viruses, which ultimately are the leading killers.
Yeah.
That's kind of the most important part to this also. Let's see. What do you recommend? This is from Melissa Maloney for someone with a milk allergy.
So with milk allergies, yeah. So honestly, I would just eliminate it. It's kind of that simple for me. I personally have had trouble with lactose, and going in, go into any grocery store, there's a million lactose alternatives, and they're just all chemicals. So for me, it's just a matter of eliminating it. If you are having problems with it, could you reintroduce it potentially later? Yes, but I would first focus on healing the gut.
And what about goat milk and other milks
Yeah,
that are
alternatives.
available that might be and it may be what the cow was eating that
Yes.
affects that, right? So free range, organic, grass fed
Right. So
might
yeah,
be
I do
a
think it
approach.
is worth trying a couple different sources to really zone in on it. But if you are, if you're on a standard American diet or even paleo or something where you are still including plants, and you're saying and milk, and then you're saying, well, I have a milk allergy. I think it would be better to do the elimination approach and then reintroduce those things, one by one. But yes, you're right, Dr. Kiltz. Goat milk. Similar to kind of where people have allergies very commonly to chicken eggs, duck eggs can be less allergenic. So similar to that, kind of as an analogy, goat milk versus cow's milk. And yeah, focusing on the quality. Where are you getting it from? What is that cow being fed? Is it grass-fed, finished, organic?
But ultimately, babies are meant to drink breast milk from their
Yes.
mothers, and all others beyond that are meant to eat a carnivore diet. Technically, milk and cheese, even butter, isn't
Yeah.
really in a carnivore nutritional solution. So
Honestly, I don't have any of them. I don't do any type of dairy, and that works for me. But some people, they do like to include it. I see a lot of people though with food addiction, and honestly, dairy it does hit the same spots in the brain as far as dopamine. So it's something I consider when people are saying, "No, I need my dairy. I need my dairy." Sometimes it can be just a mental struggle.
meat makes mommies.
Yes,
That's
meat does make mommies.
it makes mommies, men, and masters out of the meek. And that's such an important thing. Although
Yeah.
you got to make my ice cream. It's so good. Cream, an egg, a vanilla, and a little bit of sugar cane, but you don't have to use the cane sugar because if you
Yeah.
have wheat cream, my sense is from time to time, but you're right. We all have an addiction to food. I mean, if you didn't, you'd
Yes.
be dead. It's like, well,
Right.
it's a good thing. It's like air and water. Food is the master. But tell us a little bit about what your thoughts on how to change we're inundated with, oh my God, the green, they're putting all this stuff in a green
Oh,
machine and this drink that comes out and all the people that look healthy. And like, how do people sort of reformat and get away from that?
yeah, like it's hard. And I'm here now in California and it is just surrounding me. I mean, it's funny. I was even, where did I go? Oh, just like a cosmetic store. And they were immediately, well, this is vegan here, that was their number one selling point for this lotion. And I was like, oh, actually, do you have any tallow? Because I use all tallow products myself. So I am surrounded by a lot of vegan culture. And yeah, I see people every day who are have their green juice. And it really is, in my mind, I look at it and I see a juice of anti-nutrients. So I wouldn't even think twice about it. But it is like we talked about, that's the belief is that, well, you're juicing those plants and those vegetables and fruits, and that's where you're getting your vitamins and minerals. And it's not really until you show someone, you educate them. I know you have some charts, as do I, as far as if you compare, meat and the amounts of vitamins and minerals that you're getting from, let's say, even an ounce of liver compared to kale or blueberries or apples or whatever it is, there is no competition. Meat is king.
Meat makes kings, and
Yes.
mush makes us meek and part of the masses. That's the interesting part. If you realize that A5 Wagyu steak is the most expensive steak you could buy, food you could buy, pretty much.
Yeah.
And so are like our caviar, which is all basically the healthiest foods you can eat. And so, until we really get to the next stage and saying like, okay, enough is enough. That's why I think the social medicine, this is social medicine. We're changing the game here. So you don't need a doctor or a practitioner, although I think a coach and a cheerleader is really what we all need. And finding someone that is out there to help with that is so critical. So let's see. Oh my God, wait a minute. Cows are killing the world because, they're green gas emissions.
Yeah. That's another thing. I mean, yeah. And they're going to go with that for the whole Beyond Meat forever. But it is the whole, this plant-based meat products, plant-based eggs. I mean, you name it, they have it now. It's really to just keep things on the shelf so that they can continue to fill their pockets. It's really sad because, in terms of actually looking out for our health, it's completely misleading. And it's where people are going, oh, I don't know who to trust anymore. So I think just by sharing this information, we're doing our part, and I will continue till I'm blue in the face. But I think it's important.
If you haven't seen Mad Men and understand the mission of marketing, and I always say the handful of people that control all the marketing in the world ultimately is keeping us meek. I mean, why would anyone buy a burger made out of vegetables? Because the human brain wants meat very badly. So that we will eat something that the masters of marketing, it's kind of like heroin, cocaine, marijuana, even alcohol and cigarettes. And, this stuff is deadly for us, but they make us all look really fancy and good. I mean, it used to be that smoking cigarettes and drinking wine by doctors was like, you got to have it every day. Have a glass of wine every day.
Antioxidants.
Oh my God. Antioxidants, why it kills all your brain cells at the same time. A2, Lyndon asked about organic A2 milk from Costco. Again, if you need some milk from time to time, but 99% of the time, we think milk is out. Is that right?
I would say so. Honestly, it's people who are looking to gain weight that I would say, if you want to incorporate milk. But that's
my ice cream. It's cream. Go right to the ice cream because it's fat, twice the calories, and it tastes good.
The cream, honestly, because anything that you find in stores anyway, it's very difficult to get that whole whole milk source. Yes, they're coming out with more A2, but yeah, even raw milk, it's difficult to find it. It definitely has to be a local source. So the heavy cream will be easier. I definitely have some fertility clients who I give them your recipe right away. And yeah, it's great for saturated fat. That's the difference also I see with keto and carnivore clients is, keto will say, well, I'm getting my fats in the avocado oil and the olive oil. And I say, no, like you're focusing, I want you to focus more on the saturated fat, the beef fat, the lamb fat. And it plays a huge role, even for people who are trying to lose weight. When they increase the saturated fats, that's when the weight actually starts to come off. So never fear fat.
Well, yeah, that is such an important thing for everyone to realize that number one is, let's see, everyone wants to be skinny, but the brain says you're an idiot because famine is coming. So, eat 3 to 6 meals a day and get on a treadmill and lose weight. I mean, that's an oxymoron.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. How many meals do you usually recommend and talk about feeding and things like that?
Yeah. So as far as clients, when the first 6 weeks, I say eat whenever you want, just to get adapted. Because the first 6 weeks, your hunger hormones are kind of all over the place as your body is going, really soaking up everything it can get. Because many people were under eating, whether it was protein or calories or fat, or all three of them. And so the first 6 weeks, I just say, do what your body tells you. And then most people get into usually 2 meals a day. Some people even 1 meal a day, depending on their schedule. Some people feel a little restricted by 1 meal a day, or if they have a history of disordered eating, they'll steer away from it because they can tend to binge, or it may just be uncomfortable to eat that much in one sitting. So they're relying more on their stretch receptors of their stomach versus the hunger hormones. So usually 2, but I've gotten myself more into personally 1 meal a day is my.
My sense is we probably ate less than 1 meal a week.
Yeah.
Finding food was probably very difficult for the last 3 million years, and nowadays we fill our cupboards up and refrigerators with shit. Sorry, we shouldn't be touching. So you shouldn't buy it, number one. I know that I don't buy any of the stuff that I love. And once in a while, Tia buys a chocolate cake that like Wegmans. And I'm like,
oh, which one is it? Is it a Freihoppers or the Entenmann's?
Oh my God, ultimate chocolate cake. But now I'm really good at this, but many people aren't as practiced I am. I'm neurotic on this. I can have a little sliver of cake and be good for a week. And I believe simple sugar is far less harmful than plants directly. And it's really a hard one to get, but our livers are really adaptable at converting sugar to fat fast. But complex carbs take days to digest. And ultimately, that's why that 1 meal, I think, is a game changer. But 1 meal, 1 snack. And what are your snack recommendations for the carnivores in your practice?
So I mean, not many of them snack because they're just satiated, from meal to meal. But if you were to do them, I think probably the best things are going to be just the dried out meats. I mean, snacks, even hard-boiled eggs are a good snack. Shrimp are a good snack. Like carnivore snacks, carnivore crisps. Those are both very clean, just with meat and Redmond's. When you get into the jerkies, there's a lot of spices and things added, which I don't like, preservatives. So as far as, I don't do, I don't advocate for like deli meats or anything like that. It's just not good quality. But again, not a lot of my clients snack because they're just eating enough fat and protein where they go meal to meal. And I think that's better.
But I think I say a little piece of salami or I just take my leftover steak from the night before and I chop it up and have a bite or two, which is really, really pretty amazing.
Yeah, some people do like prosciutto. That's another one, or smoked salmon. Those types of things for snacks. Salami. It just depends on the client because if they are doing, dealing with autoimmune or histamine issues, then some of those smoked options aren't as ideal. But yeah, those are some great ideas.
So, all right, I'm watching this, and I think you two are big idiots, and the keto stuff is ridiculous. How do I get it? How, again, it's how do we sort of scratch the surface to all of us that have been suffering for way too many years? I mean, I had arthritis, psoriasis, bowel bleeding, kidney stones, hemorrhoids, neuroses, anxiety, fear, and it's all gone.
Yeah,
it's all gone. And I know in my case, I was told not to talk about it. And I've been I've been doing carnivore for over 10 years, but I've really not talked about carnivore. I talk about keto. And, now I finally got to set, I said, F it,
Yeah. No, you gotta just
and
tell
maybe
your truth.
I'm seeing, tell our truths, but maybe I think it's because I'm inspired by more people in the carnivore community today. And, that's such an important thing. So, all right, someone recommends
it's nice
you.
To have community.
And how do you sort of like, besides a bat over the head,
I know.
which is kind of back to the Paleolithic era. Like I always say, if you're not going to eat the steak, we're going to eat you.
Yeah. I think even just starting out, like non-negotiables are getting rid of. So even if they're not going, keto, or they're like, oh, all the macros and the tracking and this and that, or which vegetable or which, it is, in my mind, as an abstainer, very easy to just do kind of the all or nothing and go carnivore. But if you are not ready, if that feels so restrictive, if you just can't wrap your head around it, 3 non-negotiables for me are the grains, the sugar, and the seed and vegetable oils. Those are just those are not health foods. So for me, if you are going to do anything toward your health, give that 6 weeks and tell me you don't feel better, and then I can pretty much guarantee that they'll at least be on the train where it's headed toward more meat-based, more animal-based.
And someone asked about, or made a comment, let's see, lima bean. I know what would make it easier to start for me is if I could have a grocery list for the meat. And I know for me,
okay,
simply, I get Snake River Farms.
Yes,
ribeye,
I see
black
your.
gold. I mean, and it lasts me for 5 days.
Okay.
And
what is the weight on it? Is it a tomahawk or
50 ounces? No, it's not a tomahawk. It's the short bone.
Okay.
But it is what I've learned in this, is I eat so much less, and I'm like, well, this is ridiculous. Like
about 10 ounces a day.
Well, I'm going to say about 10 ounces a day, and I don't know if you could see this, but
yes.
Basically,
Beautiful.
there's one 50 ounce. I cut the cap, and then I cut it in half. I cut the center in half, and then I got the bone. Now tonight, I cooked for a friend, and we shared the 2 of the centers and 1 of the half caps, and we didn't finish it. There's still at least a third left, and because we add all the fat from the pan and right back in it. Again, this is like the craziest stuff that I also I get just because I think it's so important. Here's foie gras from
Hudson
and Porter Road uncured pork bacon, and we have a little piece of each. And all the fat. Now I put a little bit of blue cheese on my steak from time to time, or butter, but everyone's got some sensitivities. Blue cheese obviously has some mold in it, and I think mold and all these things have more sensitivities. So you have to be very, very, very careful. Do you have any,
depends on the person.
Do you have any particular recommendations for cuts of meat, or you just sort of
Yeah, so I mean, I would love to be your friend and have dinner with you because that was an amazing cut.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it, Austin.
Absolutely.
Are you in California now?
Yeah, I'm in California. I'm in San Diego.
All right, all right. I'll be
But
out there. Out here for a visit.
yeah, no, I definitely I love Skinny Atlas, so I'm sure I'll be visiting there at some point. But yeah, no, as far as cuts of meat, I mean, you hit the money is in the amounts of fat. They're very, very satiating. So I always advocate for the fattier cuts. You know, it's the people who are doing like filet or even top sirloin, things like that, where it's just not enough fat unless and then if you're cooking it in a load of butter, sometimes that fat is harder to digest than the actual fat that is coming with a steak, like a ribeye. So I always advocate for fattier cuts of meat. And, as far as there is this concern again with many, many women that, oh, it's fattier. Am I really, going to be in a deficit as far as weight loss? And it's more satiating. So really, when you average like your calories or you're looking at what you're eating over a week's time, it's actually less. Like you said, like you couldn't finish it because it is so satiating. So again, it's kind of breaking that record that's going through their head, that rehearsal of old beliefs, and getting them on board for a fattier take approach to their diet.
We're serving the breakfast industry, the lunch, the dinner, the snacks, the party industry. I mean, ultimately, if you realize and you get to this point where you're doing one meal, maybe a snack, okay, but it's really simple. Me, it's bacon, eggs, butter, beef, occasional ice cream, but every day it's 23 in one. I say 1 hour is all you need, a window of 4 to 6 hours to eat food. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, it is. It's just, and it's so time consuming. So when you make it an hour or even two a day, life just gets much more simple. You can focus on other important things, spending time with the people you love, doing activities, and just enjoying the everyday. Food, it shouldn't be something that overwhelms us every single day. And it's exhausting. I agree. It's just feeding those industries.
Right. Food is meant to be the fuel for our creative, enjoyable lives.
Yes.
And we've been taught to live in an amusement park and have fun with food. And my sense also is we're also focused too much on you got a food problem. It's psychological. And my sense it's not. It's actually physiologic. If there was food 50,000 years ago and you ignored it, you'd be dead. The brain does not know that food's going to be there tomorrow. It's going to do everything it can to get you to eat it and get you fat for the famine. So, we got so many complicated stories. It's not effing complicated. It's effing simple.
It is. It's so simple. It becomes complicated.
I talk about this. I got all these. I'm always reading scientific papers. All right.
Yeah.
But I can tell you 99% of them are bull effing shit. Sorry for my language.
No,
I'm
you're
a scientist. I'm just like, are you guys serious? Do we really? But remember, publish or perish is in every scientific world we live in. And if you're getting paid to do a paper and you can't publish it, you're not worth anything. So people will do things for and that's why, it sounds to me like you went into medicine for the right reason, to help people who are suffering. And we need more people like you. And my bias is we don't need more doctors. We need more clinicians, but community clinicians are actually all part of what we're sharing on social media. Let's share. My God, people are sharing with me. I'm sure sharing with you. I went carnivore and my erectile dysfunction went away. Depression, even depression, suicide. I think it's driven by a plant-based diet. I think it's all deadly for us.
Yeah. No, I've seen so many success stories just with clients and just, all over in this community, with, like you said, a whole host of issues, mental, physical, and it comes down to, just give it a chance. What do you have to lose? It's an elimination approach, and I will never go back. It can only get better if you're really suffering. So I'd say give it a shot. 6 weeks at the minimum. But I know many people have 6 weeks, and that turns into 6 months, 6 years. So.
And one of the problems with diets is people often are doing a diet to lose weight, which I say is stupid. Don't do it. You want to change to the optimal human nutritional solution, and as Ken Berry says, the proper human diet. But I don't even like the word diet. I think we got to get rid of it.
Yeah, diet culture I completely agree. I don't like the term. And as far as weight loss, even people who do come to me for weight loss, it's easy to make somebody lose weight, to be in a deficit. But the goal, I think, of carnivore is really healing from the inside out. And so the weight loss will come. Your body will find its happy place. But there's a lot more to do before the weight loss is going to come off, as far as fixing the hormones, healing the gut, reducing the inflammation. And it shouldn't be a focus on the scale weight. It should be a focus, if anything, on body composition by increasing fat and protein. I mean, you're filling up those stores that have been restricted and underfed for so long with these very nutrient poor foods off of shelves with a standard American diet. That needs to be the focus first and foremost. So I don't promise, weight loss goals to clients at all.
Yeah, because being skinny is stupid in the sense of our evolution. It makes no sense. And many animals get fat to get fertile. And so my bet is that, again, it's back to marketing. Look like this and this will happen to you. But I've seen cancers in skinny people all day long, healthy people, cancer all day long, which is all caused by vegetables, fiber, fruit, seeds, and nuts. And I think you already commented, an avocado is not a fat, it's a fruit.
Yeah. Many people will focus on those wrong fats. It's animal fats that we really want to focus on.
Absolutely. Because the animal fat protects the glycobiome. Animal fat actually is antimicrobial. People don't know that. The most important part is if you eat the animal fat, you protect the glycobiome, you suppress the microbiome, which you need to do, and then your body heals, which is really so critical, and exactly what you're sharing and talking about. Coach Berkeley Amelia asked about tips for pregnancy, health, and extra organ meats. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, so I am an advocate for organ meats. I personally eat them maybe every other day. I'll have a couple ounces of liver, different types of liver. I just like the taste of organ meats. Are they absolutely necessary on a carnivore approach? No. Do I at least encourage clients to try them? Yes. So I think it adds some variety, but not absolutely necessary. I'd actually like to hear your take on this, Dr. Kiltz, just as far as I get a lot of questions about. So one is with vitamin A, which is very high in liver and organ meats. And so if there's a deficiency, for example, that's linked with increased risk of miscarriage. But, then you can there's many people in the space where it's, too much liver will be an excess of vitamin A. What are your thoughts on it?
I think Ken Berry and a few others, listen, there's a report of someone eating polar bear liver and having a vitamin like overdose. Nowhere else in the world. I'm sorry. Right. Listen, we're not meant to eat liver all day, every day.
No.
It's just an organ meat from time to time. I mean, I eat a little piece of duck liver, and I cook it in the broiler on the pan. I mean, there could be nothing better than that, but it's this big, and so I still say fatty meat. Whether you get a chuck and add the tallow to it and grind it up and make a great burger. Add some if you want some cheese, if you want, but you don't need it. It really is I don't think we're not seeing vitamin deficiencies of any significance except in
Yeah.
high plant-based eaters.
For pregnant women or people who are trying to get pregnant, does that differ for you?
Okay. Carnivore, like the baby's way is all the way, all the day for the rest of your life. When you're pregnant,
Yeah.
there's a number of great papers out on this. It's a little scribble on abortion
Mhm.
and menagogues in Europe and West Indies. These are the plants and the actual animals that are roaming around on the even on the free range are dying of the plants and their miscarriages all day long and infertility. So
Okay.
I tell everyone when they're pregnant, carnivore is for
Oh
conception.
yeah, yeah.
It
No,
is
I do
really
get a lot of questions about can I continue carnivore while I'm pregnant? Is absolutely. But yeah, the major concerns are really for the like I said, the vitamin A comes up pretty frequently, and then folate is the other one.
well, you're getting all of those, but see, the problem is the plants chelate, and the plants have the toxins that likely cause the damage, not the folate lack.
Right,
So, it's sort of like, we've got it. We think insulin is the problem. It's not. Glucose is.
right.
There's no such thing as insulin resistance. It does not
Yeah,
exist. Impossible. Glucose is the number one toxin in the universe. We've never eaten it for 3 million years of any frequency or significance ever. And remember, salad, kale, fruit, fiber, vegetables, as you know, guess what? It all turns to sugar.
yep,
But because your bowels are full of it, pretty much the day you're born to the day you die, you never have no sugar in your bowels.
yeah,
And so that's why true fasting, in my opinion, is there is nothing in your bowels. That's it. And that's
yep,
a very big rarity. I mean, I know I've gone days without eating, and I know since I only eat meat 99% of the time, there's no plants in my bowels. There's
right.
no fermentation. It's not happening in there. And so, I think, again, there's some liver pills that you could take out there, but
Yeah,
prenatal vitamins, did they last, were they out there for the last 1 million, 2 million, 3 million
right.
years?
I know.
Uh,
I know. It is. It's more this kind of fear-based thing. Like, oh well, and I get it. There. If you are having trouble with fertility, and then you do get pregnant, you just want to do the very best for yourself and your baby. But yeah, no, I think carnivore during pregnancy is by all means, as long as you are eating enough and you're providing it with fatty meat, you're providing the body with plenty of nutrients.
and I tell everyone that many animals, they hibernate.
Mhm.
So your fat stores are the only fuel for your baby, nothing
Yeah.
else. That's
Yeah.
it. And so ultimately, if you have nausea and vomiting early pregnancy, do not eat a cracker because it'll kill your baby potentially. And these are really, and vegetables and all these things that we have made healthy, I believe, are the leading cause of miscarriage, infertility, endometriosis, PCOS,
Yeah.
adenomyosis, fibroids, and those are just the female reproductive things. Someone mentioned erectile dysfunction, suicide, depression. Mike,
Mhm.
these are all really, really, really amazing concepts and ideas.
I had one other question for
Yes.
you, that was fertility related that somebody had wrote in that the concern for, as with a high meat diet, being more acidic. If they have their cervical mucosa is more acidic and may decrease fertility as far as the sperm penetrating. Is that something that you've ever witnessed with a higher meat diet?
All right. Your body regulates its pH like
Mhm.
amazing.
Right.
Your diet does not do anything to your pH in your bloodstream unless you're drinking hydrochloric acid. You might last a few minutes,
Right.
but that's about it.
Yeah.
So meat number one is the original optimal human nutritional solution Slam dunk. We came out of the trees to eat the grass eaters, not the grass. Sorry.
I agree.
And we likely ate it raw. I mean, there wasn't, we're probably not eating liver every day, by the way. But ultimately, and I don't want to miss the question here, is this is the game changer. And by the way, if you read James Henry Salisbury,
Yes.
his book, all right.
Excellent resource.
And he did the microscopic studies to show that the vegetables, the seeds, the nuts, the fruit, the fiber, all of it ferments, and it helps the microbiome that they're selling you to flourish. Now, it flourishes and goes out your rectum and up through your esophagus, into your lungs, out your rectum and into your vagina. Plus, remember, the glycobiome is damaged, which allows the bacteria, yeast, and viruses to go right into your bloodstream and travel to your reproductive organs and all over your body. The simple story is like radically amazing. You don't have to have a PhD. You don't have to have this massive scientist. Listen, the brain and every mitochondrial cell of your body uses fatty acids from acetyl-CoA from fatty acids. There is never a reason that it would use glucose. And so, remember, we're marinating our cells, our body in sugar. The last I learned is that a agar plate that you will put a bacteria, yeast, or anything else on to grow has got sugar in it.
Yep.
If you simply cook a dish of fat, it will not grow on it in any significance.
Very true.
That's the game changer. So this nutritional solution, Carnivore, eliminates all those vaginal infections, cervical infections, and uterine pelvic infections that I see every day, and you see every day. And
I mean, as far as fertility, I mean, I do definitely gravitate more toward carnivore. Getting rid of the plant sources. I mean, keto is definitely an improvement, but carnivore, if you really want to optimize fat levels and hormone levels for fertility, it is always meat and more meat.
but here's an important part for many of the ketos. If you simplify the sugars, cook them well, and add fat, and eat one meal a day, you actually can significantly heal, because it's the bowel's complex carbs that ferment, and fermentation in your bowels is the cause of all disease. That is slam dunk it. And it's the poisons. Remember, this paper is really simple. This woman in the 1600s went around the world to find plants and their medicinal purposes, brought them back to the pharmaceutical companies, who then used them for our health and wellness. So we know that plants, the real thing is that it's a high plant-based, low animal fat diet, and mostly complex. That is the biggest thing. So if you're keto, I say, believe it or not, white rice or white potatoes cooked well with a lot of butter or cream or sour cream. And this is why a vegetarian who does eggs, butter, cream, and I think I got most of it there, and maybe some cheeses, because there's no fiber and there's no complex carbs. It's the complex carbs. That's why salad, vegetables, fruits, seeds, and nuts are killing all of us, which is so sad. And I'm sure you're seeing more and more. So
I definitely I agree. Keto, with the keto approach, it has to be focused on the animal fats and keeping out the complex carbs. Carbs are not essential at all.
There's zero. That's what I was, when I learned that. I mean, I was like, wait a minute, a carbohydrate. My sister died of diabetes. My best friend died of cancer, and I'm like, whoa, this is quite remarkable. So the other thing is, for the vegans, coconut milk and oil and hemp seed oil may be sort of that one thing. And I always say cook the carbs well and really get rid of the spices and what's your sense on spices and salt, by the way?
Yeah, so I think salt is important for sure, especially for someone who is just adapting to carnivore, because you are getting rid of that water, as far as water retention with the lack of carbohydrates. So salt has always been important. I think electrolytes, having that balance is really important. Even just starting salting to taste, but when you initially start out having more than you normally would. As far as spices, I think it just depends on the individual. For some people, they're very sensitive to like nightshades. So, the pepper and the those types of things are not ideal. But if you do tolerate them, if this is just kind of preventative, would I again urge you to try it without and just doing salt? Yes. But if it's something that's what you're holding on to and that's what's getting you through your meals and making it long term, and it's not bothering you, then I don't think it's a make or break.
Kefir. Let's see. We got Vivian, Canada. Let's see. Dr. Kiltz kick and Carnivore and Austin Cavelli kicks.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thought about bone marrow butter and kefir?
Yeah, bone marrow I think is excellent. Not only is it, a great source of fat, but also has a little bit of like calcium in it, because it is coming from the center of the bone. So it's, some people view it as an organ meat. And so absolutely roasting it even in the oven for like maybe 15-20 minutes at 400. Absolutely delicious, right where you want to get it to where it's like translucent, but not completely. And that's kind of that perfect little spot to have it. As far as kefir, I don't have a problem with kefir. Again, I think it's more important though to clean the tank first. Kefir, can provide that probiotic, and when it's homemade, all the better. But do I think it's essential? No. But if you are having gut issues, let's say you came off of antibiotics and you kind of need a reset, you're doing an elimination approach, and then you want to have some kefir to kind of build that back up. I don't have a problem with it, but I'm not huge on fermented foods, to be honest.
I'm not either. Let's see. What about water? I do mineral water because it's like the taste and like it is, but it does make some gas in your GI tract. So you got to be.
So I personally, I avoid. I wish there was like a mineral water that wasn't sparkling. I've looked for. I think there's only one brand I've found, and it's like from Poland. But yeah, so they are pretty much all sparkling. So for that reason, I avoid them because they do cause like that. It reminds me of that kind of bloating feeling from vegetables. But I personally add minerals to my water. I do the trace minerals, and they're just drops that I add to reverse osmosis water. I think getting unless you have a really clean source of tap water, which I don't know of any, I would get reverse osmosis or a Berkey filter, even a carbon filter. Like, it's better than nothing. So always filter your water. And then I would definitely recommend adding trace minerals, because I don't think our water, it's just not the same as it was years and years ago as far as mineralization.
Let's see. Anything else that you want to share with us on all of these amazing people on this amazing journey of humanity to find the optimal human nutritional solution?
I think we definitely covered a lot of it. The only other questions I really get as far as kind of food is the chicken and the pork questions again, and people who are leaning more toward those than the ruminants. I always urge sticking with beef and lamb, sticking with your ruminant animals as far as like 80 to 90% of your meat. Are chicken and pork bad? No, but the practices in the US are very, very different. I mean, if you go to Europe, pork is like unbelievable in countries in Europe. It's like, it's just like no other. So I think finding a local source, if you are to get chicken and pork, to be corn and soy free, because you really are what you eat. So if they're eating those grains and they're eating those, whatever it is, those plants, you're also consuming them as well. So that's another very common question that I get.
I think white, skinless is deadly. And people don't know that actual protein is converted in the liver to sugar, just like glucose. I'm sorry, to sugar and then to fat. And it requires insulin to do that, which is kind of an amazing story that most people don't quite understand in this.
Yeah, no, many people think, oh, it's meat. Well, then my insulin's not spiking. And it's like, no, every time you eat, your insulin is spiking. It may, be zero carb, and so you're not getting this dramatic glucose spike and then the dramatic. But that's another thing that I often talk to clients about, is that when we're looking at these glucose monitors and things like that, that is only an indirect measure of what our insulin's doing. You may be where your insulin is responding appropriately, but you're not seeing that through your glucose monitor. So it's not a direct measure. And still, like you said, there is a spike in your insulin. And honestly, pork and chicken, for me, I don't do it, but it's when I have, it's not satiating. There's just nothing that compares to beef.
I agree. I do love a really great roasting hen that's baked, and you capture all the fat. You eat the skin, you eat the dark meat, you eat organ meats also.
If I were to do, it would be duck.
Yeah. Duck.
Okay.
Duck, I think we don't talk much about duck. We need to talk about duck. So I think I got to come out there and we have to do duck in one way, or maybe some, I do love pork, but I eat steak every day. It's kind of boring. Eggs a little bit, let's see. Fat does not increase insulin.
Right.
Because
that is protective of that insulin spike. So if you were going to...
Yeah, you're right. But fat goes to the lymphatics.
Right.
It doesn't go to the liver.
Right.
It does that because your body uses fat for fuel. It's distributed everywhere. Your body is saying, oh my God, you mother effer, where have you been? Right?
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, we only need beef like Snake River Farms, all of us. But there's some great other meats out there.
Oh, yeah, no.
I know there are great meats out there. I've had them dry aged, wet aged. But I always say, if you take fish and steak and dry age it in the refrigerator, the fish is going to stink.
Oh yeah.
Where's the chicken, by the way?
Seafood, the beef, even handling pork or poultry. Like, I don't personally even just like handling it. Like beef, I know I eat it raw and it's not an issue. But the others, they're smelly, they're dirty. I don't know.
Let's see. Cholesterol issues. Oh my God. What do you say?
Cholesterol issues, honestly, it's so the biggest problem with cholesterol that people don't understand, or maybe it's just not said enough, is cholesterol becomes an issue when you are combining the sugars, the grains, and the fat. So it's a matter of keeping it very low carb and then going higher on the fat. That is when your cholesterol is going. You need cholesterol. It is absolutely vital, especially for our brains, our nervous system, the myelin sheath. For nerve connectivity. It is so important. So cholesterol should not be demonized by any means. If anything, sticking with the animals, the saturated fats. On a keto and a carnivore diet, your triglycerides are going to go down. Your HDL is going to go up, and LDL, it will go up as well, but that is because that is your new fuel source. So that is a good thing. If it were to go down, I'd be concerned that you weren't eating enough fat.
Yet I don't think it's a new fuel source. It is our only fuel source.
No, it is. But in terms of when you're switching over.
But I say we're not switching over, because if you have fatty acids in your blood always, and in your cells always, why would you use glucose ever? I went back to Krebs' paper. Listen, Krebs and all these people, they're the same scientists we have today.
As far as quickly utilization, glucose versus fat, you mean?
Glucose can never be our fuel because anorexics die fast. If you look at a liver failure patient, they have high sugar, high insulin, they're emaciated, and they also have hyperproteinemia because they cannot convert neither sugar or proteins to fat. Type 1 diabetics are skinny because they cannot convert sugar to fat in the liver. And type 2 diabetics are fat because guess what? The job of insulin is to make us fat. That is it. So everyone says, oh, insulin resistance is bullshit. And glucose cannot be the energy for our cells if you really understand the fact that, well, if your cytoplasm and mitochondrial cytoplasm have acetyl-CoA and have free fatty acids everywhere, why would it pick glucose?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And this is my number one thing that I'm harping on in our world. Keto is burning sugar, conversion to burning fat. Mm-hmm. But you know, if we see someone that's highly anorexic, we know they're not healthy. But if you're overweight and there's a famine, you're in the pristine spot of life.
Right. You got a lot to feed off of.
And we need to stop chastising people who are overweight. We need to stop telling people that fat is the cause of disease. We need to stop it now. Being one size that's wrong. We shouldn't all be showing off our muscles and somehow I'm healthy and you're not. In our world of medicine, it's not true.
Yeah.
And so, my hopes with people like you and so many other people in this carnivore keto world, we're gonna show a new story that no matter your size and shape and whatever you're suffering from, 2 to 4 weeks of carnivore, almost every disease is gone, and you barely lost 10 to 30 pounds.
Yeah.
That's the game changer. So
no, it is the ultimate approach to diet, obviously. And I'm biased, but I think it will continue to help so many people. It's just a matter of trying it. You have nothing to lose.
You're not biased. You're, I always say you don't need a paper. You need people that have stories that you bring to the table that are so important. Now, I'm excited. You and I and JC are coming out with a carnivore book in the next, 2 months to 6 months. But sharing the carnivore story with more people and all of these things. So again, Austin, where can people find you? How can they get you as their coach and cheerleader in this story of health and wellness?
Absolutely. So you can find me. You can book an appointment directly on my website, qualitycarnivore.com. I'm here on Instagram, on Facebook, but my website will be really the quickest way to do so. And we'll get on a quick call and discuss kind of what your goals are and how I can help you. I'll outline services, and we'll start the journey from there.
Really a pleasure, Austin. God bless you.
Always nice talking with you, Dr. Kiltz. And I cannot wait for the ribeye and the duck. That's going to be
ribeye and duck. And thank you to the Facebook and YouTube crowd and the Instagram. I had some problems. My phone died, but I know some people only look at Instagram. So I want to make sure we all get to listen to your amazing advice. And God bless.
I really appreciate the conversation, and thank you for hosting it on all of your platforms. I hope we can continue to spread the word, and we'll work on the book and lots to come. So thank you again, Dr. Kiltz.
All right. God bless you. Thanks, Austin.
Yes, you have a great evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.